Husband kicks woman out of the house, instantly regrets it. Seeing her place in her husband's life, the woman didn't grovel. She began the divorce process, a long and grueling ordeal that threatened to take the little sanity she still had left. She hoped she'd come out of the other side with something substantial, but the reality would leave her in tears. Among the things that her husband had taken was their 10-year multi-million-dollar home, a place that meant everything to her. But that wasn't the worst thing to happen. They'd been married for 10 years, with the woman giving everything she had to their marriage. She'd loved her husband dearly once, going out of her way to save their relationship. But when it became clear that she was fighting a losing war, she threw in the towel. What would come after would show her that her husband was capable of even worse things. But things hadn't always been so bleak and terrifying for Dolly and her ex-husband Mark. They'd been close once, sharing everything they had, from property to dreams and aspirations. In their decade-long marriage, Dolly and Mark didn't have any kids. Neither saw the path of parenthood as fitting for them. They chose to focus on their career and partner instead. But their marriage wouldn't last long. Despite his towering and burly build, Mark had always been a gentle and caring man. He treated his wife like a queen, constantly going out of his way to make her smile. Even after 10 years of marriage, he brought home flowers after a long day at work and sat on the kitchen counter talking to Dolly as she made dinner. Mark stopped bringing his wife flowers in the evening. Of course, Dolly tried not to take any of it to heart. Mark had just received a long-awaited promotion at work, and Dolly thought the pressure was why he was changing. She hoped everything would go back to normal, but it got worse. Mark stopped sharing his time at home with her, choosing to sleep, watch movies alone, or go out. Dolly didn't know what was happening to her husband. She started asking questions, trying her best to unravel the mystery before her. But the rift between them continued to grow, and before she knew it, she suggested they see a marriage expert for therapy. But Mark didn't want any of it. To make it worse, he now seemed physically repulsed by Dolly. That's when he did something she never thought he'd do to her. Mark began sleeping in the guest room. He was more secretive than ever, leaving for work well before Dolly woke up and returning late at night. His new behavior spurred Dolly to analyze everything that was happening objectively. That's when she found the telltale signs of what Mark was doing, from faint lipstick marks on his shirt to secret hotel bookings. Everything suddenly became clear. Dolly tried to save their marriage, pulling every move in the book to keep them from separating. But her husband would show her she didn't mean anything to him anymore. Mark had been seeing his secretary behind Dolly's back for months. After revealing everything, he brought her to their house with the divorce papers firmly clutched in her hands. The terrible end was here. Mark's lover wanted to move into the house Dolly called home. She insisted that Dolly should move out immediately, moving Mark to give the woman a week to pack her belongings and make herself scarce. Broken by the sudden eviction, Dolly did as she was told. Dolly was by no means poor. She got a place to stay and went to pack her belongings. She got boxes and moving trucks and got to work. After packing, she decided to fix herself one last meal, Italian sautéed shrimp with white wine and caviar. She felt tears bloom in her eyes as she ate, still trying to understand how everything had crumbled so fast. That's when she had a smile-worthy idea. Dolly had never been someone to take a punch without swinging back. She went into every room, stuffed caviar-dipped shrimp shells into the curtain rods, cleaned after herself, and left. Mark and his lover moved in but soon realized a funny smell all over the house that seemed to worsen by the day. Dolly's plan was work. Mark and his lover spent a lot of money cleaning the house, going as far as buying new furniture with hopes the smell would go away. But after a month of the same, with the stench now unbearable, the two decided to sell the house. But no one would go into the building, let alone buy it. Things got so bad that the realtor informed Mark that the house's value had severely decreased. There was only one thing he could do. Knowing how much the house meant to Dolly, Mark called her with a proposition. He was selling the house for 1/10 of its price. Dolly bought it immediately. She had Mark and her lover move everything out of her house, bringing in her old stuff. She cleaned the terrible curtain rods that had saved her home, thankful they'd come to her rescue when she needed them the most.